that freedom of speech is the freedom of non-violent expression, without which any government will have a very limited vision, no matter how well-intentioned it is. Words of wisdom are always better than weapons of war. A man one day ran into the United Nations Assembly and said, "Talk is cheap. You guys sit down here and talk." And the man in the United Nations responded and said, "It's because we have been talking. That is why we haven't had any world war in the last 70 years. Prior to what you're calling mere talking, there were 2 world wars in 30 years that destroyed millions of people. The developments that have occurred in the last 70 years in the world have happened without firing any shots. The Berlin Wall did not collapse because any bullet was fired. Neither did China rise today to become a superpower through acts of violence. The real truth is that people are not talking. If people are putting out the right content, using their Twitter handles, Facebook pages to broadcast accurate, and I repeat, accurate and detailed and factual information about what's going on from the local to the federal level, the authorities will be forced always to change. An enlightened populace, and not only well-intentioned leaders, is key to good governance. Freedom of speech, when used intelligently, will always drive the wheels of change. I will close by saying something. People have asked also that in the platform, it seems, like somebody said, to be a policy-driven meeting now. That you're not talking about the steps, maybe practical business steps, that a small entrepreneur can take. But you are speaking about policies and you are speaking about national development. And to that I will close with the words of a political columnist and consultant psychiatrist, because I believe his words capture these thoughts best. He is a Harvard-trained doctor by the name of Charles Krackhammer, who became paralyzed waist down at his second year in Harvard while engaging in recreational diving. He said in his most recent book, Things That Matter, he said it was going to be a collection of his writings about everything but politics. Things mysterious, things beautiful, or just odd, he said. His working title was going to be, There is More to Life Than Politics. But in the end, he couldn't, for the simple reason, he said, he left psychiatry for journalism. While science, medicine, arts, poetry, architecture, space, sports, number theory, and all things hard and beautiful promise purity and elegance, they are all, he said, fundamentally subordinate, and in the end, they must bow to the sovereignty of politics. Politics, the crooked timber of our communal lives, dominates everything, because in the end, everything high and low, and most especially high, lives or dies by politics. You can have the most advanced cultures, he said, get your politics wrong, and everything stands to be swept away. He went further and said, every generation has come to know that after you have mastered all disciplines, there is one more discipline that you must master. One more thing you need to know on the earth. And he said it's politics, because of its capacity. When benign, it allows all around to flourish in its capacity. When malign, it allows all around it to wither. Today, the problem in nations is not whether they are educated people who know the right things to do. It's whether those nations have gotten their politics right. You know, I went to speak somewhere, and there was a gentleman who did a presentation before me by the name of Mr. Bimbo Olashiri. And what he did in that presentation, I'll just digress a bit and mention this. He put up the top 5 fastest growing economies in Nigeria, in Africa today. And he said we should look at it. Right on top was Ethiopia, and after Ethiopia was Rwanda, and after Rwanda, I think it was Cote d'Ivoire, and after Cote d'Ivoire, Democratic Republic of Congo and Tanzania. He said, but look properly, study those countries. He said, you will see, almost 25 years ago in the 80s, we were all singing We Are the World, because Ethiopia was in famine. Just about 10, 15 years ago, there was genocide in Rwanda. Cote d'Ivoire, it was DJ Drogba that went to settle the war just some time back. Democratic Republic of Congo, we know those places have been ravaged. Now, it's not that those people there are more educated. The issue is that they have finally gotten their politics right. Nations and organizations commit suicide by getting their politics wrong. Politics is the moat, they say, the walls beyond which lie barbarians. Fail to keep them at bay, everything burns. It has been said by historians that the only power comparable as destructive to man as wrong politics might be nature. Nations were ruined and millions died in the last century because of wrong politics. Let me just say this also, that when people ask, I tell people, you might know, just show the effect of politics, you might know the 7 steps to building the best organization. You might have the 12 steps to making your marriage the best. But in the days of Noah, if you had a successful marriage, if you are growing your business, if you are doing everything right, and you didn't look at the big picture, which was the flood coming, whether you were happily married or not happily married, are you following what I'm saying? This is the nature of politics. Whether your business was doing well did not count. The flood wiped everything out. Listen, there are people today in Nigeria who are suffering in business not because they are not good entrepreneurs, not because they have not read the right books. Some people in the last 1 year, the value of their company has gone down 30%, not because they did anything wrong as entrepreneurs, but because the politics was wrong. You know, I grew up, I wasn't going to say this, but I saw a classmate of mine put this on Facebook, so I said I would say it. And I grew up in a city. I mean, my sister Abalani were neighbors in Badon. And it's a city, it was an academic city. You grew up there, you know, very academic place. And today I look back and, you know, I look at families, people grew up in those places believing that the society, our parents went abroad, schooled, came back, and faced their work diligently. You know, but I think they didn't take a look at what was going on in the world of politics. Raised their families properly, did everything right. Some of those people are in their 80s today at home. Their children are scattered all over the world. Their children are not there. They don't see their grandchildren the way they plan to see their grandchildren. Not because of any mistake they made, but because the politics in this country, which they didn't pay attention to, brought about a flood that wiped things away. And that's why we're saying this generation must, as we are walking, we must open our eyes and pay attention to the politics. The most considered and balanced statement of politics place in the hierarchy of human disciplines came from John Adams. He said, I must study politics and war, that my sons may have the liberty to study mathematics, philosophy, geography, national history, naval architecture, and agriculture, in order to give their children the right to study painting, poetry, music, and architecture. Adams saw clearly that politics is the indispensable foundation for things elegant and beautiful. The deepest purpose of politics is to create the conditions that for the cultivation of finer things. God bless you all.